Hello Monster Hunter people, you may be wondering why I'm holding this. While it does look like an ordinary Facebook, it is far from it. You see, when I press the top, I turn into a younger version of myself. So, let's give it a try. Okay, so I still feel the same, but for some reason I have this big hatred for SpongeBob. Also, who's this guy filming me? The extinct monsters of Monster Hunter. Monsters that went extinct for some reason. Maybe because they were much weaker than others. Or maybe because they just evolved and became the species we hunt or ride today. Whatever the reason may be, one thing is certain. These are actually very cool, and I think more fans of the series should know about them. Which is why I decided to make this video. Anyway, the ancient Lagiacrus. That's right, before this top of the aquatic food chain sea wyvern came to be, a different king of the seas dwelled the sea. This was basically the ancestor of Lagiacrus, yet unlike Lagiacrus, it was a piscine wyvern instead of a leviathan, and it glowed from its body, but as it got older this glowiness slowly went away, up to a point where they only glowed from their stomach. This was because of parasitic shellfish and petrification. In case you didn't really pay attention in geology class, that's fine. I didn't either in any of my classes. Petrification is the process of a plant or an animal slowly turning into stone. Basically, its original structure is slowly replaced by minerals until it's entirely made of stone. So I guess the ancient Lagiacrus slowly turns into a rock as it gets older, which also means that this rock that I found yesterday may be an ancient Lagiacrus. The ancient Serpent. I've talked about this monster in my previous video, and I don't really want to repeat myself, but in basic terms this is a giant piscine wyvern that is very destructive and is as strong as an elder dragon. It's actually still alive, but we've never seen it in a Monster Hunter game, probably because it's very rare. Bajirisu. This was a bird wyvern that looks very similar to Igurueibisu, so it shouldn't come as much of a surprise that it was the relative of this monster. It had a spiky shell covering its body instead of a rubbery hide, was able to spit poison like Igurueibisu, used its tail like a club, but was not able to do that annoying flash attack from its crest that Igurueibisu is known for. Apparently it went extinct because it was outcompeted by other bird wyverns like Igurueibisu and Garutoto. Honestly, to me, Bajirisu looks so much more threatening than both of those monsters. I don't really understand how that worked out. How can this derpy thing beat this? Borudoru, the ancestor of all winged bird wyverns and the descendant of Hypnocatrus. It lacked feathers and only had a hard shell and scales. It wasn't outcompeted or anything, it just evolved into other species like Bajirisu and Hypnocatrus. Canopus, an extinct species of flying wyvern and a close relative of Rathalos and Rathian. Despite this, it walked on all fours like Tigrex. To protect itself from threats, it had a large plate-like shell and even evolved the long neck. But now it's an extinct species, so the long neck thing probably didn't work out so well. Garutoto. This is the ancestor of all piscine wyverns. You thought there was more? Oh no, that's pretty much it. We don't know anything else about it. Also, I wasn't able to find any pictures of it, but I'm guessing it looked something like this. Igurueibisu, the ancestor of all bird wyverns. It's covered in blue feathers, has razor-sharp talons, and a cutting beak, and was predatory in nature. When I saw this monster for the first time, it really reminded me of both River Astalos. Keputosu, the ancestor of all reptorial bird wyverns, such as Jaggi. This one looks like someone took Velociprey and Hypnocatrus and somehow merged them into one. It was a fish-eating monster and was actually pretty intelligent. It threw rocks in water to catch fish. If I learned anything at school, it's that throwing rocks in water scare fish away. But apparently for this 300 IQ beast, it worked. Its tail not only looks like a hand, but also functions as a hand. Keputosu sometimes used it for holding objects. There is a belief that it could mimic the calls of other monsters like Kirpeko. It was able to somewhat fly and run, but not for long distances, which is probably why it went extinct. Kuragumosu, the ancestor of Monoblos, Diablos, Gravios, Igurueibisu, and Sherureusu. Not much is known about this monster besides the fact that it loved feeding on ore, was heavily armored, and was a flying wyvern. Wyvern Rex, the ancestor of all flying wyverns, yet one could say it's also the ancestor of all wyverns in general. Its direct descendant is Tigrex. The two definitely look very similar, except Wyvern Rex couldn't fly. For such a cool looking monster, it's a shame we only know like 2 things about it. Sherureusu, a more evolved version of the Wyvern Rex and the ancestor of Rathalos. It had a hard shell, long thorns, a barbed tail, and walked in a similar fashion to Kushala the Aura. It looks beastly and was a powerful predator. It went extinct due to environmental changes. Origin Wyvern, possibly the oldest monster on this list, even older than Wyvern Rex. It is believed that it shares the same ancestral roots as Acanthor, Ucanlos, and Odibatarasu. And those are all of the extinct monsters that we know of so far. Unfortunately, there's not much information about a lot of these, considering the fact that they lived a long time ago. This is understandable. But what's even more disappointing is the fact that they are all classified as extinct. Well, except for the ancient serpent. However, as usual, I have some good news. You see, some may actually not be extinct. That's right, Monster Hunter people, they could be alive and well. There's a monster called Mirajnasu that lived in ancient times and was thought to be extinct by the guild, at least until they found it. This just proves that monsters that we think are extinct now may just be in a location we haven't explored yet. So if you watched this video and thought, oh man, the Origin Wyvern is so cool, I wish I could hunt that titan. Well, maybe you'll get your chance sometime in the future. At the beginning of this video, I pressed this button and I turned into a 2-year-old, but let's give it another try. Oh darn it, it didn't do anything!